Hello and welcome to this Trigger 2-minute tutorial. And last time we were talking about how you could use a MIDI external controller to adjust the level of audio playback within a Trigger project. I'm going to show you an alternative method for achieving something similar today. So in this instance we have our audio cue button here, and we have two trigger buttons in our project which are configured to increase the level of that audio playback and decrease it. So we'll first of all look at how these buttons are configured. So if we open button properties, you'll see I've set up a simple OSC string here. So I'm effectively using open sound control to adjust the level of the audio playback volume. I've shown you in a previous tutorial how you configure open sound control to adjust the parameters of buttons within a trigger project, and that's what we're simply doing here. So you'll see that this trigger button targets the cue button on cue sheet 2 in rank position 1, and it's going to increase the volume by 1 dB over 10 milliseconds. And if we look at this trigger button, we'll see that this is doing something similar, except this time is decreasing the level by 1 dB. And if we play the track and click this button, you'll see that the level increases and the level decreases. Now, all we need to do now is have these trigger buttons controlled from our MIDI input. So I've got the same device as I had last time attached to my system. That's the Behringer X-Touch Mini. And this time I've got configured the device to be in MC mode. And if we look at the MIDI data that we get coming in here, you can see that if I turn the rotary fader, this is the rotary fader number 1, if I turn it anti-clockwise, it sends that control note. And if I turn it clockwise, it sends that control note. Now, if I close that down, we need this button to be configured so that it responds to that. Now with trigger buttons, if we go to the MIDI page, you see we have a pop-up menu. If we right click on the MIDI receive level 2, this can be either simple or advanced. And once again, we're looking at the advanced level here for this trigger button for its MIDI receive level 2. And you can see I've got it to be control change 176, the data byte 16, which tallies with the data that I'm getting from my MIDI device, and I require a data match for the second data byte, which is 1. And I've done, and that will simply fire this trigger button. So now you'll see when I turn my encoder anti-clockwise, it fires this trigger button, and when I turn it clockwise, it fires that trigger button, which in turn fires the OSC, the open sound control, which will adjust the level of this button. So if we then play that track now, as I turn my rotary fader clockwise, you'll hear this track gets louder, and I turn it anti-clockwise and it turns the track down. If I stop the track and start the track again, it will of course start playing at unity level until I turn the rotary fader to either decrease or increase the level. So there's an alternative method for controlling your audio playback levels within Trigger using an external MIDI device. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and you'll join me next time.